Alex, I've been expecting secession and breakup of the United States since 2004. And I honestly thought that we would see something like that during 2008. The financial crisis, which broke the global economy, broke in 2008. We've just been living on borrowed time ever since then. So, but I'm blessed, unfortunately, or cursed, or however you want to put it, with the Cassandra's complex of being able to see the future, and explain it, but no one listened, and being way too early on the scene. It is a curse, and because you can see these things happening, and now, with experience, it's very obvious that this is where we are now. Within the next 4-year cycle, the United States, as we know it, will see it already ceases to exist as we've known it. Now it's whether or not there's going to be any kind of political disunion, and I'm openly calling for all of the Trump states to just secede and say, look, we have all the military assets, we grow all the food, we have all the water, we have all the oil, we have all of these things. What do you people have? You have you have aging financial centers which don't provide any value, and they're all being drained of their vital capital, and it's been a mass hallucination and a roll up of the oligarch and the rentier class. Now we have more than 8 oligarchs running the United States, certainly, but you have looted as much of the corpse in Ayn Randian terms as you can. The zombies clean. There ain't nothing left. New York is going to become a shell of itself. California, Oracle leaving. Anybody who doesn't think that Oracle leaving California for Texas isn't one of the most significant announcements of the last week is an idiot. Frankly, is an unserious political commentator.
Oracle, the computer company.
Seriously, I mean, that's serious.
The IT company, Oracle.
I'm talking Oracle, the database company that runs the New York, whose technology runs the New York New York Stock Exchange and the Nasdaq, is going to move to Dallas or Austin or whatever. Got news for you. There's already been rumors that the New York Stock Exchange is going to go the way of the dodo. It's too expensive. Nobody wants to live there. Nobody wants to co-locate their servers there or any of that crap anymore. Who the hell wants to do this? They can all move to Texas. They're all gone to Texas, guys. This is all the Alamo Josie Wells. They're all gone to Texas. Okay. And Florida, like Goldman Sachs is moving its its biggest profit center to Fort Lauderdale or to West Palm Beach. Okay, it's all going to be over. New York is going to be turned into a museum. And it goes beyond this. I have to understand it goes deeper than this. And when you look at the way Texas and Florida and some of these other states are run, and you understand the way actual real capital flows within the United States, while the blue states may pay into the national treasury more than everybody else, all this tax money, but they don't actually produce any of the value that tax money is based on. That's all gearing and derivatives. When that collapses, that 90% of the tax base goes away, and now all of a sudden, now it's no longer quote unquote a wealth transfer. All they were doing was paying back the money they stole from us in the first place. We're just going to keep it. And that's going to be that. And Florida and Texas are in fiscal positions where they can literally walk away, ask for a very modest payment from everybody, and pay off all of their state debt and issue their own currency debt free. I mean, we've done the math here in Florida. It's $1,800 a person. Okay, I'll kick in $6,000 to help pay for somebody else for the 3 of us in my family, and we pay off all of Florida's debt. Every bit of it, $1,800 a person. It's nothing. It's an excise fee. It's an impact fee on the freaking cars coming into the state. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. What I can add to that, Rich, is that I have friends in both New York and California, and the tax burden on them is eye-watering.
Yes.
I mean, it is beyond anything you can imagine in Britain. I mean, or indeed anywhere in Europe, actually, despite what people think about America being a low-tax country. I mean, I know people in the United States who are paying $20,000 a month on their property taxes, and they are not living in, Manhattan apartments. So that gives you some idea of what we're talking about.
Yeah, the numbers are staggering.
They are absolutely staggering. And it is obviously a symptom of a very distorted economy that New York is in this situation, and it's also a symptom of a very distorted economy that things in California are as bad as they are. So, because also the other paradox of all of this is that all these taxes are levied, the budgets of these states are always in deficit. But if you go to, I haven't been to New York for a while. I've never been to California. But apparently, what I understand is that conditions of life are deteriorating. Sidewalks aren't being cleaned. Homeless people are lying all over the place. And public transport systems are not working properly. It's very, very difficult to understand where all those tax dollars that people are paying are going. And can I just ask, this is perhaps a slightly mischievous question. Tom was talking about the fact that Florida, Texas, all these places. And by the way, after the Texas lawsuit, the Attorney General of Texas was talking about having a combine of law-abiding states.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite an interesting comment, and I do wonder what he was thinking. But anyway, that all these countries could form, self-sufficient economies and set up their own currencies. Might cryptocurrencies have a role in all of this? I just ask.
Only to start a 3-hour conversation about that. Yes and no.
I said I was being a bit mischievous.
Let me say where I think this is, right. Let me say, and then I think we kind of almost got there, but we didn't quite. But I'd like to bring it in about Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris as the next. Vote for Biden, get Harris, possibly, right? And then where I think it's going to come in with the cryptocurrencies is tied in with the Great Reset, the vaccines, the Freedom Pass, UBI. Because I mean, in essential, in the UK, we're on UBI, pretty much. I'm a self-employed person. I get the self-employed income support because my business has gone right down because the consultancy work that I was doing, that's gone. The UBI on the app with the central bank digital currency, and then we're trapped inside. So it could go that way, right? And then where the other cryptocurrencies are, cryptocurrencies like Pirate Chain and Monero, where they're operating in an informal capacity. Mm-hmm. Just like the cash economy, you then have a privacy cryptocurrency economy. The problem there is the surveillance. People then go to start use decentralized VPNs and keep themselves private, use other phones. That's where I think.
Well, yeah, but again, everything else, it's cheaper for you to buy a VPN than it is for them to hire auditors to monitor all the traffic. Because they can monitor all the traffic they want, Rich, but at the end of the day, they eventually have to send a Bobby to your house and threaten to take you away in chains. And then what if everyone's doing it? Like, there's just not enough jail cells. When it would be easier for them to just tax your profits away. The best way for them to continue running this rent extraction class, and I keep saying this over and over again, is that the best thing for them to do is just to say, look, we're just going to tax it. We're going to make it expensive for you to use, and we're going to tax your profits in the most disadvantaged way imaginable. And that's an extended pretend thing. I mean, Steve Bitchute is talking about, making self-custodial wallets illegal in the US. I'm like, well, good luck with that, dude. Yeah, no. Good. I mean, I wrote a piece on this on Friday. Did you not read the piece I wrote on Friday about this?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I will.
No, I mean, I assumed you read it because you say,
I did see something in one of the cryptocurrency journals how they want to make encryption illegal.
That's effectively it.
Well, how are you going to do that?
I know. How are you going to do it? Like governments are always fighting the last war, guys. This is
we need to ask Alexander this, right? You and I understand it, right? But you take a decentralized cryptocurrency, possibly a privacy coin like Pirate Chain. Nobody has any control over it. The source code is out there. Go ahead and put encryption in, or a decentralized VPN. Like
who are you going to lobby to get the back door into the code?
Yeah. And then if you put the code in yourself,
nobody in charge.
Well, if you put the code in yourself, the algorithm for the original that you've put the code in that you've amended will reject that version.
Exactly.
Yes.
They don't have any. They don't. When they say things like that, they all they do is like explain to you the depth of their ignorance, and they just think that we're going to make it legal or illegal. My lord, is this legal? I will make it illegal. I always go back to the Phantom Menace because there's so many freaking great moments in that movie that aren't Jar Jar Binks, but even Jar Jar Binks has his moments in that movie that are politically astute. So I keep going back there, going
their ignorance, but also the limits of their control. Like in Saudi Arabia, alcohol is illegal. Adultery is illegal. Do people drink alcohol? Do they engage in adultery? Too right, they do. In Pakistan,
it's the same thing. It's like to this day. I mean, the whole point of the central bank digital currency is that those tokens that you get for free from the government will have limits on where you can spend them and how you can get them in and out of the system, which will then create a black market for the useless items that nobody wants, and then all of a sudden we'll be trading toilet paper for Pirate Chain. Okay. in order to launder the money out of the system. Like, people have been doing this stuff for as long as there's been money, and if these people think that they're going to be able to make this stuff work, like, and to be controls over it, I got 2 words for you, or I got 3 letters for you: EBT. Okay, in the United States, we have EBT cards, otherwise known as food stamps. EBT cards. I got news for you: you're only allowed to buy certain things with it, but somehow everybody who's on EBT has cash in their pocket. Now, how is that? I wonder. Like, it's just, you're just creating vectors for fraud. You're just creating vectors for all a manner of things, and the more they try and put controls on it, the more people avoid it, because the arbitrage. Because the more you raise the economic cost, the more people are, through violence, the more people are willing to, one, defend their arbitrage opportunities with violence, which explains the drug war, by the way. You want to make drugs cheap and boring, and people not use them, make them legal.
Like Portugal, criminalize drug use right now.
Because you remove the economic incentive for people to come up with ways to, one, defend their business with violence, and 2, come up with more addictive versions of the drugs to create a self-sustaining market. Or does this sound like the central banks? Oh, I'm sorry. It's very difficult for me to get all that straight in my head sometimes.
Well, can I just very quickly add to this? I mean, this argument for criminalization is actually a legal absurdity, because what are you actually criminalizing? There is no jurisprudential theory that says that any of this activity is harmful or dangerous in itself, or is criminal in itself. It is pure commercial activity. It might be used to all kinds of inappropriate purposes, but in and of itself, it is perfectly normal commercial activity, entirely non-dangerous to anybody. Right. Doesn't do anybody harm. I mean, drugs can, the argument is drugs do actual harm. What harm do these things do? So, if you start to criminalize non-harmful commercial activity, you are in a very, very dangerous situation. Yes. You are then going back, you were talking about the Soviet Union, make all kinds of comparisons. Aren't you doing what the Soviet Union did?
Oh yeah, of course.
I mean, the Soviet Union said commercial activity.
It's just feudalism.
It is exactly. You end up. I mean, you are imposing a kind of totalitarian a system of control over commercial and economic activity.
Of course you are.
In your own country, and in order to make that possible, you need to expand. I won't even call it your law enforcement, your national security bureaucracy to prodigious scale. Right. Because I mean that's
the point that there are more spies and more policemen than there are people. The whole system collapses.
Exactly.
I mean, this is the lesson of East Germany. I was doing a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I mentioned this. It reminded me of the great novel by Philip K. Dick called *The Scanner Darkly*, where to fight the drug war, in order to infiltrate all the drug cartels, they created anonymization technology, so that the police were spying with wearing these scramble suits that masked their identity. Even the police officers didn't know who the other officers were, so it was a completely paranoid system. But then what happened? Half of the police force were actually drug users, and they were spying, and then they wound up spying, and then the main character winds up spying on himself, and then trying to keep that from collapsing. It's one of the most scathing, by the way, it's one of the most scathing anti-authoritarian novels. It makes 1984 look like the Scarlet Letter. Like, it's crazy how good it's called A Scanner Darkly. Richard Linklater made a great rotoscope animated movie of it with Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder and Robert Downey Jr. and Woody Harrelson. It's a great little movie, but the book is phenomenal. It's short. It's a 3-hour read. But it is about the drug war and the surveillance state gone completely and thoroughly insane, and then taken to its logical conclusion, which I won't even give you the ending, because the ending is one of the most devastating things you'll ever read in your entire life. So, absolutely read *The Scanner Darkly* if you don't want to know where we're going, because Minority Report is where we're headed, right? That's what they want. Except we just get rid of the precogs and add AI and substitute in AI, and that's what they're building for us. And I say this all the time as well. That's what the Great Reset is all about. And when you go back and watch Minority Report, which I love the movie, it's nothing like the short story on which it's based, but it's a very good movie. And Spielberg, when he was making the movie, who did he consult for his vision of the future in Minority Report? All the people that are on the Davos crowd today, the same futurists that create. So all the technology that is in Minority Report that we literally see today, minus the cybernetic eye implants, scanning his eye and then putting up the ads on in real time, we have that on the internet. All that technology is already here. The self-driving cars on electricity, with all of that, it's all built by robots. You'll notice that none of the manufacturing is done by people. It's like,
okay,
if you listen hard enough, they tell you what their plans are. Is my point.
Okay, I'm gonna move this on to another bit of the conversation.
Sure.
Before I do that, I think we need to at some point schedule a 12-hour show or something, right? One of the things that I think I keep having this thought, it's just like the rapport and the energy and the dance of the conversation, and we could go in so many directions, right?
Sure.
I mentioned earlier about vote for Biden, get Harris.
Right.
And there's, because all this stuff, all the big tech was saying, oh, Hunter Biden laptop, Russian disinformation, lie, none of this is true, that's not true, no. And now it is.